This is the last chapter of your syllabus. Is the international trade. Is the international trade. Before I start the international trade, I would like to tell you the trade usually we practice. You have studied in microeconomics from the beginning or macroeconomics wherever. Transactions takes place. Trade means transactions should take place where there will be buyers and the sellers. The buyers sellers will have touch to each other, and in exchange, in exchange, the monetary transaction has to be taken place. So transactions takes place. So if the transactions takes place when you buy any commodities from a shop at your colony, located at your colony, then also trade takes place. You make the demand of a commodity. In exchange of that, you pay the money or the price of that commodity, adequate market price. So transactions takes place. Transactions takes place between you and the shopkeeper, seller and buyer. If this total transaction takes place within a country, seller and buyer both are from the same country, then trade takes place. That is called the national trade. National trade. National trade. So trade occurs within a country is called national trade. Within the periphery of a nation is called the national trade. Trade may occur if the whole nation is divided into different regions. Say southern region, northern region, eastern region, western region. Then from eastern to western, trade occurs. Then that may be considered as the regional trade. Southern to western, trade occurs. In southern part, one seller or buyer; in western part, say buyer or seller. So regional trade. Trade occurs in between in different regions of the country. It's called the regional trade. Regional trade. Regional trade. So you see whether it is regional trade or what that occurs within the country. Within the country. Within the country. So if the trade occurs within the country, sellers and buyers are from the same country. So that automatically is treated as a national trade. That means if trade occurs within a nation, buyers and sellers are from the same nation, it's called the national trade. But our topic of discussion is the international trade. Since our topic of discussion is international trade, that means either buyer or the seller must be from somebody will be in our own nation, somebody will be the nation of another country. That means beyond the periphery of a nation, trade has to practice. So if trade practices between the nations or among the nations, then such type of trade is called the international trade. International trade. So trade must occur beyond the periphery beyond the periphery of a nation is called the international trade. International trade where different nations are involved in practicing trade, and after practicing trade, gains arises out of trade. Gains arise out of trade. That is why it is called gains from trade. So trade will occur between or among the countries, and then gain will arise, and that is called gains from trade. Now, at least two parties must be involved or two nations must be involved. Now the question arises, who will gain and who will lose? Now, as far as the international trades are concerned, then both the parties, both the nations will win. That is why they are involved in practicing trade. If a particular country loses or does not gain, automatically that country will not participate in practicing international trade. That is why, since both the countries win, both the countries gain. That is why they are involved in practicing It and it arises out of trade. It arises out of trade. So that is complete. Now, say you have known the definitions of international trade. So where at least two countries or two nations or more than two nations will be involved, that is known to you, and gain will be there. Both the countries or more than the or all the participant countries will gain out of trade. That is also understood by you. So that is why all the countries will practice and involve trade. So why trade occurs? Why trade occurs? If we the day I taught you the or started to teach the economics, that day I said economics actually studies the behavior of the human being. That is why on that very day, particular day, I said from morning to evening, whatever the activities you perform, you just list down. After listing down those activities, if you analyze, if you look into carefully, you will find each and every activities there are transactions. All those things are studied in economics. So our behavior is studied in economics. So you see, whenever we ride our vehicle, then whether it is two-wheeler, four-wheeler, whatever, we need to buy the fuel. We need to buy the fuel. Those fuels are not produced in our home country. Those are brought from somewhere else, some other countries. So import takes place, and 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 the commodities whichever are produced, say rice, wheat, those things are produced after meeting our day-to-day expenses. Day-to-day expenses. What we do? The surplus productions are exported, means offered for sale in other countries. So we sell in selling or offering that our surplus in other countries, we receive, means we earn, means India earn, and in importing fuel that our country, our country uh, pay money to the other countries. Our country pay money to other countries. So in import we make payment. So whether in exports or import, payments and receipts are involved. That is maintained in a account. That account is called the book double entry bookkeeping system, which is called balance of payment account. Which is called balance of payment account. Balance of payment account. So due to the necessity of the human being, this trade occurs. As we want to buy, as the fuel is our requirement, is our necessity, that is why we buy fuel, and that is imported from other countries. Because of that, trade occurs. The country where from this oil is extracted, oil rich countries are selling that oil we are buying. So in context of that particular country, they are exporting fuel and we are importing fuel. And our surplus rice, whenever we offer for sale in other countries, we are exporting rice. Against that we are earning. And the country whoever buys, they are importing rice. Against that they are paying. So every country makes the accounts, is called the balance of payment account. Somewhere receipt side, left hand side receipts are maintained, and the right hand side payments are maintained. Receipts and payments are maintained. So that account is called the balance of payment account. I shall come into the discussion what is balance of payment. And before that, I would like to tell you the trade occurs due to our necessity, due to our demand. Since we the people create demand, so trade arises. Trade arises. The basis of trade occurs due to specialization. Due to specialization. Due to specialization, trade occurs. Trade occurs due to specialization and differences in cost of production. Costs of production. So the basis of trade, basis of international trade is the specialization and the cost of production. How can it be defined? Suppose there are two countries. One country is say India, another country say Japan, for example, or any other country. So India has specialization in production of rice. It is a specialized country where more rices are produced. After meeting our home expenses, domestic expenses, the surplus rice we used to offer for sale in another country. So, in our context, since we export rice to other country, we export rice and against that we earn money. And another country where electronic goods are produced in cheap, where so many electrical engineers, so many people, everybody is efficient in production of electrical products or even electronics products. So it is produced there at cheaper cost. So if that same product is produced in our country, that same product will be possible to produce, possible to make, but the cost of production will be high. So that is why differences of costs of production. Since here this product will be more costly, and if we instead of that, if we import that product from other countries, that will be cheaper. So India will practice trade with that country to buy the electronic goods from that particular country, and that particular country is not specialized in production of rice. So if that rice is produced in their country, that will be dearer. That will involve higher costs. So that is why they will try to import rice from our country. So both the countries will practice trade and they will gain out of trade. This is the basis of international trade. Why the trade occurs and how both the countries gain out of trade. This is the basis of international trade. This international trade has been propounded by two economists. One is Adam Smith, who is considered as the father of economics, Adam Smith. Another is David Ricardo. So Adam Smith has explained this cost theory. Both are the basis of costs. Adam Smith explained international trade occurs due to the differences of cost. Here also due to the differences of cost. Both the economists have explained international trade due to the differences of cost. But it is differences of absolute cost, absolute differences of cost. So, Adam Smith established the model based upon the absolute differences of cost, whereas David Ricardo established the model trade theory based upon the comparative differences of cost. So, absolute differences, comparative differences. What or how the absolute differences have been considered to establish the trade theory? Suppose there are two countries. Country X and country Y. Say India and another country. Say, let's not take the name. One is country X, another is country Y. Both the countries both the countries, country X produces 8 hours, means invest 8 hours of labor and produces 100 meters, say 200 meters. 200 meters of cloth or 100 kilogram of tea. Country Y, 8 hours of labor invested. 8 hours of labor invested. By investing 8 hours of labor, 100 meter of cloth or 200 kilogram of tea. Now you see why this 8 hours has been considered here. During that time, there was no monetary concept. There was no concept of money. So that is why out of all factors of production, labor has been considered as the cost of production. When the laborers are asked to work, asked to sell their services, if they serve 8 hours, a particular labor serving 8 hours, that particular labor can produce 200 meters of cloth or 100 kilograms of tea, either or. Either 200 meters of cloth or 100 kilograms of tea in country X. In country Y, 8 hours of labor is invested. After spending 8 hours or working 8 hours, either 100 meters of cloth or 200 kilograms of tea is produced, possible to produce. Now from this example, this is the basis of absolute differences. From this example, you can understand X is the country where by 8 hours 200 meters of cloth can be produced, and Y is a country where 200 kilograms of tea can be produced by spending 8 hours of labor. Because you see which one is more beneficial. It is better to produce 200 meters of cloth rather than 100 kilograms of tea. Here 200 kilograms of tea and 100 meters of cloth, because in this country X, cloth is cheaper. Cloth is cheaper. You can understand. 8 hours of labor is invested, 200 meters of cloth is produced. 200 is more than 100. And in this country, tea is cheaper. Country Y. So, because of the differences of cost, we can find out which one is cheaper and what the particular country X will do. X will produce and sell clothes to country Y. X will produce and sell clothes to country Y. And Y will produce and sell to country X. T. Y will produce and sell T to country Y, because T is cheaper in Y. So that is why both the country will practice trade and they will gain out of trade. How the gain is arising here? Where X is exporting clothes, so X earn money because of export, and Y makes payment for clothes. And where Y exports T to X, then Y earns money from X, Y makes payment for T. So both the countries earn and make payment. So they practice trade and gain out of trade because of differences of absolute cost or absolute cost differences. So they gain out of trade. So this is the Adam-Smith proposition. It is called Smithian model of trade or absolute cost differences. International trade based upon the differences of absolute cost or the absolute cost differences. After that, David Ricardo says, yes, it is right, but absolute differences cannot be always the logic of occurring trade. How? Why it cannot be? So David Ricardo has given another type of example. Say country X and country Y. And country X, here cloth is produced, here tea leaves are produced. And 8 hours of labor. 8 hours. Both the cases, 8 hours. Suppose here 300 meters of cloth are produced, and here say 100 kilograms of tea leaves are produced. Or okay. Then here also 8 hours of work. Say 180 meters of cloth and 90 kilograms of tea leaves are produced. Now you see in this example, X is a country where spending 8 hours of labor, 300 meters of cloth or 100 kilograms of tea leaves are produced. Here spending 8 hours of work, 180 meters of cloth or 90 kilograms of tea leaves are produced. Now, these both the countries have absolute advantage. X has the absolute advantage in production of both cloth and tea because 100 is more than 90 and 300 is more than 80. So the country has absolute advantage in production of both the commodities, clothes and tea leaves. And country Y has comparative absolute disadvantage in production of cloth and tea. So this is the basis of comparative absolute advantage, absolute cost advantages. We have shown here how the countries practice trade. For this example, if the example is like this, where a particular country will have comparative absolute advantage in both the commodities, then as per the propositions of absolute cost advantages, those two countries cannot practice trade. Why? Because country X has absolute advantage in production of cloth, 300 is more than 180, and also tea leaves, 100 is more than 90. So why country X will make transaction, X will participate with Y? Question does not arise based upon the absolute cost differences. David Ricardo says, yes, it is possible. Both the countries will practice trade because of comparative cost differences. So in case of such example, absolute advantage will not be the basis of occurring trade. Here comparative advantage, cost advantages will be the basis of occurring international trade. So how comparative advantage will be calculated? Comparative advantage, comparative cost differences. Comparative cost differences is nothing but a relative cost. Say, comparative cost difference, comparative cost. We are calculating now. Say for X, comparative cost of cloth for country X, for country X, cloth is 300 by 100 and T is 100 by 90. How much you are getting? Amrita. Hello. Amrita. Amrita. 300 by 180. 1.67. and 100 by 90, 100 by 90, 1.1, and 180 by 300, 180 by 300, 0.6, 90 by 100, 0.9. Now, look at this. Comparative cost when we calculate for country A, comparative cost for clothes, for production of clothes. This is the relative cost of both the countries for production of clothes. 300 by 180, 1.67, and in case of P, 100 by 90, 1.81. So, comparative cost in case of country A is better for production of clothes. And for production of tea, for country Y, comparative cost for production of cloth is 0.6, here it is 0.9. So comparative cost in production of tea is more. So here comparative advantage shows cloth is cheaper here as per the calculation of comparative cost, and tea is cheaper here for comparison of as per the calculation of comparative cost. So this country X will produce and export clothes, and country Y will produce and export Y because of the differences of cost. This proposition was developed by David Ricardo. So country X will export clothes to Y and will earn money, and country Y will export tea to country X and will earn money. So both the country will earn and both the country will make payment. So receipts and payments will take place here, and trade will occur between the country, and both the countries will win or gain out of trade. Those are the main two theories of international trade. One is Smithian theory, based upon the theory of Adam Smith, based upon the absolute cost differences. Another is the theory of David Ricardo, based upon the basis of comparative cost differences. Comparative cost differences. This is about the theories of international trade. But while occurring the international trade, I said exports and imports take place. The country whichever offer the commodities for sale to other countries, they earn. So receipts, and the country whichever import the commodities from other countries, that particular country make payment. So payments takes place. Since receipts and payment takes place because of international transaction, that has to be maintained in an account. It's called the double entry bookkeeping system. That accounting system, that account is the balance of payment account. Therefore, balance of payments comes in our discussion to know what is balance of payment. So now I shall be discussing about balance of payment. Balance of payment BOP is a systematic record of all international transactions between the reporting country and the rest of the world during a specific period of time. So balance of payment is a systematic record of all economic transactions of all economic international as a economic divider of all economic transactions. International is also, but countries are written of all economic transactions. Of all economic transactions between the residents of a reporting country, between the residents RESIDENTS, residents of a between the residents of a reporting country, residents of a reporting country and the rest of the world. Because suppose two countries are involved. Two countries are involved, India and Japan. They are involved in international trade. So India is exporting rice, electronic goods. There is another country, European country, where India is importing fuel. Then Europe to Japan also, some other. So you see, they are all practicing trade for one or more than one commodities. So there is no restriction, only two countries will be involved because India needs so many things to buy, to import. So from Japan, one product may be imported, from USA, another product may be imported, and from Russia, another product, South Africa, another product may be imported. So particular country will not be involved to practice trade with only another country. That particular country may be involved in practicing trade with so many other countries, So that is why residents of a importing country, one country, suppose India, and the rest of the world. In the world, there are so many other countries. With them also, India may practice trade and gain out of trade. So that is why gain arises out of trade. Now you see, since country exports, so earns, which we call receipts, RECEIPTS, and for importing, country make payment. So receipts and payments are maintained in two-way bookkeeping system, or it is also called the double entry bookkeeping system. The earning from exports called receipts, and payment for import is called the payment is also involved for importing the commodities. So those receipts and payments are maintained in this two sides. Receipts in the left hand side, payments are in the right hand side. They are maintained in two types of accounts. One is called current account. Another is capital account. Here also current account. Here capital account. So, what are the type of things included here? here and here. Merchandise trade is a visible trade, visible exports. Merchandise, MERCHANDISE, merchandise trade, visible export. Visible export. Invisible exports. Unreputed receipts. Short term, long term, capital receipts. So here also merchandise trade, visible import, invisible import, unreputed payment. Short term, capital payment, long term, capital payment. Now see, visible exports, the commodities you are offering for sale in another country. So exporting the commodity to other countries, so for which whatever the money you receive is included here. Invisible export, one teacher, Indian teacher is teaching in USA or somewhere else. After meeting his personal expenses, whatever money brought in our country, because of selling his service in another country, the invisible export. Unrequited receipts for gifts of other purposes, whichever money you receive, those are all counted under the heading of merchandise trade. Merchandise trade, visible, invisible, and unrequited. Here, those are money earns, receipts. And for visible import, the commodity whatever we buy from other countries. Invisible import, one foreigner teacher is teaching in our country. Invisible import. So for which the amount of money we pay. Unlimited payment, if for some other purposes we make payment. So those are all maintained here under the current account. Short-term capital receipts, long-term capital receipts. You have seen the deficit financing I have discussed. For deficit financing, particular country make the finance by borrowing from international bodies or other countries. Say long-term payment receipts, particularly India has given loan to other countries. So in that case, since India has given loan, interest will be earned. So that short-term, long-term capital receipts for previous lending. And particular country, India has borrowed funds from some other country. So payment will be involved, interest payment. principal payment, they are maintained in this side. So total all international economic transactions are maintained in receipts and payment side of a accounting system. It's called the balance of payment. Balance of payment. But here you have to understand another term, BOT. Like here BOT you have studied, here BOT. What is BOT? It is actually the balance of trade. Balance of trade. What is balance of trade? Balance of trade is the difference between visible exports and visible imports. That means the commodity you export, means particular country exports, and the commodity particular country import is called the balance of trade. Balance of trade. So balance of trade is the difference. Balance of trade is the difference between visible export and visible import. BOT, BOT is equal to visible export minus visible import. That means amount of money you earn for exporting of commodity which has the existence, and the amount of money you make payment, means particular country pay or make payment for importing the commodities. That difference is for the balance of trade. Balance of trade. Now, why? Because of several items. Why we are interested to measure only the balance of trade? Because country's economic situation or the country's economic flow will be better if that particular country can make more receipts, can earn more receipts, and can make less payment. Then if this side receipts are more than the payment, then surplus in the balance of payment account or the favorable condition, country's economic health is good. If R is less, receipt is less than payment, then the condition is unfavorable. Economic health is not good. If R equal to P, receipts and payments are equal, then the country's balance of payment is in equilibrium situation. Is the equilibrium in the balance of payment. So every country wants to make receipt side greater than the payment, so that balance of payment situation will be good and the country's economic health will be good. Every country wants its better economic health, good economic health. That is why exports must be more than the import. Export must be more than the import. So, how much commodity is imported at the price of export is also required to be known. So, at the price of export, how much can be imported? How much can be imported? Or at 1 unit of export, how much can be imported is required to be measured. So that measurement is called terms of trade, TRMS, terms of trade, terms of trade, terms of trade is called TOT, terms of trade. This TOT is calculated by price of export by price of import, price of export by price of import. That means at 1 unit of export, how much commodity can be imported, or at 1 unit of import, how much can be exported. That can be measured by the formula PX by PL, price of export divided by price of import, is called terms of trade. These terms of trade or the balance of payment can also be made better by another way. What is that? Import substitution method. Import substitution. Import substitution. SUBSTITUTION. Import substitution. What is import substitution? Import substitution means the commodities which we import, which we import, the substitute of the product can be produced in our domestic country, in our home country. Suppose a foreign car, which we call imported car. That imported car, imported car we used to buy from other countries, because to maintain our status. But the same car can be produced in India also. But we the people, whoever are having more money, still they want to import that car. So first the objective of the country would be to produce the substitute of that car and to make the car available in the market. Once the car is made available in the market, now, so that particular country has to sell the product, but there are people, whoever are having money, they won't like to buy that product because they want the imported car. Then what the country will do, impose the excise duty on that. Excise duty is called export and import duty. Last class I discussed excise duty on that. If excise duty is imposed by India, then the price of car will go up. Suppose the imported car would have been available in India at 8 lakhs rupees, then that would be 12 lakhs by importing 50% of excise duty. Then people will think, why we will pay 12 lakhs? Better to buy that imported car, substitute product of that imported car, which has been produced in India at 7 lakhs or 6 lakhs. So 50% of the money will be saved. Because same comfort we will enjoy by buying the Indian car, substitute of the car which have to be imported from other countries. So import substitution. So amount of import will be reduced by that way also. That is different topic related. It is international linkage is there. That import substitution is not included in your syllabus. So I won't go through in details about the import substitution. So by this way also amount of payment size can be reduced, and by expanding the receipts, expanding the export receipts can be made more, and then balance of payment account can be shown as surplus or can be made as the surplus in the balance of payment account, so that economic condition of the people will improve, economic health of the country will improve. There is sound economic health, so that the country will run smoothly. This is about the balance of payment and international trade. And there is another concept is related to this international trade, is the foreign exchange. So foreign exchange, why foreign exchange is important? Foreign exchange or the foreign exchange rate, say it is the rate. The rate at which one currency is exchanged with another currency. So the rate at which one currency is exchanged with another currency. Suppose there are two currencies, one is rupee, another is dollar. So at the rate at which one currency is exchanged with another currency, say, I don't know today what is the exchange rate of between rupee and dollar. Say 75 if you consider $1 is equal to rupee 75. Rupee 75. What is the meaning of this? If somebody sells $1 he or she will get 75 rupees. So in international transaction, it is very important. It is very important. It is very important here because if somebody exports anything to USA, for example, and he will earn in terms of dollar, say $5. $5 is earned by the exporter. So $5 is 5 into 75. So he is getting when he converts it into Indian rupee because he's Indian and he has to make transaction in India only. So he will get 75 into 5. 75 into 5. So for international transaction, if you want to study your higher studies, say masters in other countries, you have to make payment in terms of dollar. Suppose you want to study in USA, so you will make it in terms of dollar or in the currency what is prevailed in the country where you will be studying. So in that case, you have to first Indian rupee has to be converted in terms of dollar or in terms of the currency where you are studying that particular country's currency, and you will make payment. You will make payment there. So what happens actually? So here, just I would like to tell you why this international foreign exchange rate is important to study, and the market in which this international rate is determined is called the foreign exchange market. But here the exporters or importers, what happens? Sometimes this a particular country willingly devaluate that country's own currency. Suppose today you find $1 is 75 rupees. Tomorrow or day after tomorrow you may find $1 equal to 90 rupees. 90 rupees. Then you see actually the money value of Indian rupee has reduced. So that means money value has been devaluated. Why? International transaction is the demand for foreign currency and the supply of foreign currency. That is not coming into the equilibrium position. The particular country, India, has devaluated. Why? To promote export. If I am the, or if you are the exporter, so the time when $1 equals to 75, after earning $1, you are getting 75 rupees. Now, if the currency is devaluated, then you will get $1 equal to 90 rupees. So, after conversion, you are becoming more beneficial if the Indian rupee is devaluated. So then, being an exporter, you will be more interested. You will be more interested to export more. So export promotion will take place. Export promotion will take place. Export promotion will take place. Export promotion. So export promotion, what by promoting export, what the country will benefit. So more foreign currencies, if you export more foreign currencies you will earn, and that foreign currency will convert in RBI, Reserve Bank of India. So Reserve Bank of India is the reservoir where foreign currencies will be stored, and that foreign currency will be paid, payment will be done with the help of those foreign currencies afterwards in that particular country where this dollar or that particular foreign currency is vary. So reserve of foreign currencies will be more by exporting, and on the other hand, export side, enhancement of export or export promotion means export side will be greater than the import. Export is greater than import means favorable balance of payment, and the country's economic health will be more and more sound. That is why devaluation is also considered one of the criteria to promote export or to make sound balance of payment account or surplus in the balance of payment account, or to make the sound economic health of the economy. That's all. Have you understood? Hello?
Yes, sir.